Can KLM land a spot as one of Europe's best airlines in business class? I recently reviewed ITA Airways, the new national airline of Italy, and today join me, Dan, a full-time airline nerd and part-time vegan croissant connoisseur after my trip to Amsterdam, as we try out KLM's latest and greatest business class suites to see if they can help take KLM to the next level. All right, it is my first time flying KLM long haul in over 2 years. They have a brand new, amazing looking business class seat on their 777-300, soon to be on their 777-200s as well. So I'm really excited to give this a try. KLM for many years was one of my favorite European airlines, so I really hope that they still live up to that. Schiphol, some parts of it look wonderfully retro these days. And every time I fly out of a European airport like here or Frankfurt, I always wonder about those ticket desks that no one ever seems to be buying anything there. What's the deal with those? If you've ever used them, at least in the past decade, let me know your experience. We've checked in online, so we go straight through security and immigration before heading to the KLM Crown Lounge. This is one of my favorite business class lounges in Europe. I love almost everything about it, from the huge variety of seating, to the quirky interior, to the delicious food, to the barista-made coffee, to the outdoor terrace, which is sadly closed today. I could go on. I also love how the service desks are so customer friendly because you sit in a little booth with the staff as they help you. In terms of drawbacks, the main one is that it can get extremely crowded, and sometimes the wait for a shower can be hours long. I also find it quite random that they have a paid restaurant in a lounge. It's even more random that they offer a huge drink selection, but most of the drinks are chargeable. Pineapple and cranberry juice for €3.50 per glass in a business class lounge is outrageous. On the wall here, you have some tiles used to make KLM's adorable safety video. More on that shortly. After an hour here, it's time to head to the gate, Foxtrot 8. Our gorgeous Boeing 777-300ER is awaiting here. You want to know what makes this specific aircraft so cool? It's been in service for just 4 days since being reconfigured with the new cabin. Everything is pretty much as unused as it gets today. There are 35 brand new World Business Class suites in a 1-2-1 reverse herringbone configuration, all with a total of 2 lavatories. That means 17.5 people share one, but add the pilots and crew, and that's about 20-1. Today I'm sitting in the mini cabin back here with Oscar in 8 Alpha and me in 9 Alpha. I love sitting back here since it's more private, but the problem is the premium economy is served from the middle galley here, so there's quite a lot of foot traffic back and forth. This is still better than my usual choice of row 7, since that has a missing window in this case, but you know, row 1 is never a bad choice either. So come along, let's board. Do you want to change your life? Seriously, let me tell you about today's video sponsor, Copilot Fitness. I've wanted to be consistent in the gym for years, but something has always stopped me. Whether it's traveling and not having consistent access to a gym or the same equipment, feeling overwhelmed with work and not having the time, or simply not knowing how to progress properly. Never being in one place or always being in a remote place left me without the option to have someone to help me with this until I found Copilot Fitness. Through them, I met my incredible trainer Devin, who I've been working out with for 417 days now. Pretty amazing. I can't even count the number of custom sessions he's made for me across 6 different continents and countless gyms with varying degrees of equipment or sometimes no equipment at all. Whenever I feel unmotivated or tired, I get that extra push knowing that Devin is going to check in on me, wondering why I haven't completed my workout. So for me, Copilot Fitness has been a game changer in terms of consistency, accountability, and honestly not having to think. There's a reason Forbes ranked Copilot Fitness highest of the best personal trainer apps in 2023. There's a reason Copilot Fitness is 9 times as effective at helping you reach your fitness goals, and there's no reason why you shouldn't try it for free today. Click the link at the top of the description or go to my Copilot link at go.mycopilot.com/nonstopdan or scan the QR code here to get 14 days free with your very own personal trainer to see just how much healthier and more confident you'll feel. Oscar and I board through door 1 even though we're sitting further back just to get a view of the larger cabin. I love pretty much everything about this. Yes, KLM's seat finishes aren't the most premium, but I know what to expect when flying KLM. Their vibe is quirky rather than luxurious. That's instantly noticeable in how friendly and laid back the crew is as well. The purser tells me she thinks I look remarkably calm and comfortable. That's one of the most random, out-of-nowhere compliments I've ever received, but I thank her very much and proceed to the mini cabin. Here's a look at their premium economy right behind, which looks great. I've got to say, as someone who loves privacy, especially on European airlines where people tend to stare at me like I'm either an alien or just butt naked when they see me recording, these seat walls are impressively high enough to ease my recording anxiety. When seated, you truly cannot see anyone else, even with the door open. You can also tell that this seat is modern, with a godsend USB-C port in addition to standard charging and well-placed detailed seat controls. Most of all, you notice it in how the reverse herringbone has evolved to now have huge footwells. The storage is good, but not as plentiful as many other reverse herringbone seats. You're basically limited to this thin locker and a small pocket on your side, which should be enough, unless you basically unpack half your carry-on at your seat like me. Almost immediately after settling in, I'm offered a choice between beer, champagne, and orange juice. You know me, I always go for the juice, but this time it shocks me.
Oh my god. Actual good orange juice on a plane? This is mind-blowing.
You get so used to terrible orange juice on planes, it's a surprise when it's actually fresh, pulpy, and delicious. Well done, KLM. The crew also hand out menus and amenity kits as the purser welcomes us all on board by name. Wow. I have some work to finish during boarding, which gives me something to do instead of pretending to look busy as hundreds of people walk by. That's also the awkward thing about sitting in these mini cabins, but during the flight I love it since there are so few people sitting back here. Epically, we end up pushing back at the exact same time as an Emirates A380 pushes back a few concourses down. We're closer to the runway, so we get a head start, and that marks the start of an imaginary 6-hour race in my head to Dubai. Stay tuned to see who wins. As you enjoy this ridiculously sexy engine view, let me just tease you with the idea that you, yes, you, could book this seat for $851. It normally retails for $3,000 to $4,000 on this route and $1,500 to $2,000 if you're connecting from elsewhere in Europe. But at the end of the video, I'll show you how to save up to 79% on this ticket wherever you live. After takeoff, it takes a while for the service to begin. So long, in fact, that I start feeling sleepy. Sleeping is pretty much my favorite thing to do. I even prefer it to flying. So when I realize just how comfortable this bed is, I also realize, this spells trouble. Although KLM's bedding is pretty basic, the seat is wide, perfectly soft, and there's so much room by your feet. Unfortunately, KLM doesn't have individual air vents, but luckily or unluckily, the temperature is pretty much freezing for much of the flight. Now, of course, we also have to close the door, which is surprisingly very flimsy. Despite the flimsiness, which seems to be a safety precaution in case of emergency, I gotta say the door is also quite impressive as far as business class doors go and adds even more privacy to the already private suite. Soon the meal service begins with a choice of drink and a choice of nuts or cheese served from a cart. I choose a Diet Coke and nuts, which both taste just how you expect a Diet Coke and nuts to taste, so we're off to a good start. Today's menu looks quite promising, at least the food section. Not sure why the drink selection is so tiny, but it seems like tiny is a running theme when it comes to catering on KLM. Another piece of good news, the table makes it easy to leave when it's in use, which is always good to check before the meal so you can plan your upcoming toilet visits. An hour into the flight, the appetizers are served. This is what my neighbor is eating, sneaky little shot of his starter that looks okay. My specifically ordered vegan one looks everything but okay. This quinoa is way undercooked. The tomato is rock solid, as is this ball that resembles bread, and I'm surprised any European airline would consider whatever this is a salad dressing. A long 30 minutes later, where I've aged 30 years chewing uncooked quinoa, the mains are served. This looks more like it, but just to cover my bases, I ask if I can go to the galley and quote, take a picture for a friend of the regular meal options. I'm shocked when I see these, honestly. Are we at IKEA or in a several $1,000 business class here? Why do these look like something my beloved poor grandpa was served in his US state-funded old age home? Also, where have the famous KLM clogged salt and pepper shakers gone? Now the salt and pepper is served in an envelope? To be fair, the food tastes good, but I think literally anything would taste good after that starter. For dessert, served another 30 minutes later, KLM serves a fruit plate that probably costs €0.50 to make at most. Seriously, KLM Catering, if anyone is watching this, or anyone at KLM for that matter, please let me come offer my consulting services for free. I've flown 160 airlines and can show you dozens of food ideas that cost the same amount as everything you've served, but also taste and come across infinitely more like you actually care about your passengers than this does. Unfortunately, the regular desserts aren't much better. This cheese plate looks like something I'd be disappointed to see on American Airlines, let alone a Dutch airline. The other dessert tart looks fine. Luckily, there are only impressive things to show you other than the food, so let's check more of those out. Post-meal, I need time to recover and rebuild my love for KLM, so I unboxed the Rituals amenity kit. Now this is lovely and features almost everything I look for in a good amenity kit besides maybe a packet of tissues. I'm addicted to lip balm, which is not great and is another story, but this one looks like it will fit the bill. You know what else is impressive? KLM's lavatories, even though there are only 2. I've always loved this quirky side of KLM. The funniest thing to me is that one of these Rituals containers is hair gel. That has to be the most random lavatory amenity I've ever seen. I get back to my seat and peruse the Wi-Fi offering, which is on the pricey side, but not too outrageous. The sun starts to set as we're flying over Greece, and I realize, cool, we're taking the southern route to the Gulf today. It's horrible and kind of impossible not to reflect on how many bad things have happened in the majority of places on this map in the past few years. Meanwhile, most flights down here just squeeze through a narrow strip where you fly basically just south of Israel and Jordan before continuing the journey almost the whole rest of the way in Saudi airspace. You actually enter Saudi Arabia close to quite a fascinating place, Neom. At this point, Oscar asks for a snack and the crew offer this bag of chips. I love when bags of chips get inflated like this on planes. It's the little things that excite you, you know? Once I'm done with my work, I decide to watch Society of Snow, which I've downloaded on Netflix. Fantastic, but absolutely horrifying movie as someone who often flies over remote places. Luckily, technology has come a long way in the 5 decades since that infamous plane crash in the Andes. KLM's own entertainment system is quite good if you haven't brought your own entertainment. As far as European airlines go, it's not close to the likes of British Airways, ironically, but not bad. Unfortunately, it's time for food again, guys. My goodness. In the words of Oscar, why even bother serving this? It makes you feel worse to see how little they care rather than them not offering anything at all, so at least you don't know how little they care. That's ironic because KLM still invests in one of my favorite little business class features in the world. As many of you might know, they provide collectible Delft Blue houses to all business class passengers before landing. It's such a fun touch, and even though I don't fly KLM more than maybe once a year on a long-haul flight, I still look forward to adding these to my collection that is now 11 houses every time I fly KLM. With that, we descend and touch down in Dubai, a miraculous 20 minutes before the Emirates A380 that took off just after us but took the northern route instead. Overall, I'm just so conflicted about KLM business class. Listen, I basically love everything besides the catering, which I don't just dislike, but I find so puzzling. They genuinely just don't seem to care about it regardless of what meal you order. If they actually had good food, I'd say KLM is one of my favorite airlines in Europe because the service is usually good, the new seats are great, the entertainment is quite good, I love the lounge, yeah. At least KLM is generous with award space and easy to redeem points on like I did today.